Story of Teddy Hong, from drug lord to passionate pastor. Teddy Hong was one of the biggest drug lords in Asia, with a net worth over $6 billion, was conquered by God. He never imagined he'd have anything to do with Jesus because he already saw himself as a god. I'm one of the leaders of the 14K Triad, with over 100,000 followers in Hong Kong and more than 1 million worldwide under my command. Since the 70s, I've been involved in the most profitable drug trade, owned Asia's largest disco, 7 shady businesses, underground and online casinos, and even fixed European football matches. I controlled both the underworld and the legitimate world, and many cops and high-ranking officials were in my pocket. Back then, Hong was powerful and unstoppable, but today, he admits that his so-called glorious past was actually full of heinous crimes and filth. God knew it would take a special plan to reach this big guy. So, 14 years ago, more than 50 pastors and Dr. Bok Ki from the seminary were sent to find him, paving a path of faith for him. One pastor asked me, "You're so powerful. How do you want to be remembered after you die?" That question really hit me, and I started crying. I knew I had hurt so many people. I wasn't a hero. I was a coward. What was there to be remembered for? Then another pastor said, "God will let you change slowly." I lost it and shouted, "I don't want to change. I have so much money I can't count it all. My 4 wives are the most beautiful women in Hong Kong. The gods I worship treat me well. I don't want to change." Hong didn't realize that the power to change or not change was entirely in God's hands, and he had no control over it. Turning back and wanting to leave Jesus. Fearless Hong, who feared neither heaven nor earth, was tormented by insomnia for years, with the best doctors and the most expensive medications proving ineffective. One day he pointed to the Bible on his bedside table and challenged Jesus, saying, "If you're really so great, let me have a good sleep." And he immediately fell asleep. Amazed by Jesus, Hong decided to believe in him. At that time, Hong's belief was more of a transactional deal to solve his problems, not yet a complete separation from his sinful ways. Hong admits, "Since God healed my illness, I believed in him." Sadly, for the first 7 years of being a Christian, I was still a filthy sinner, a charlatan, and a liar. I was still doing things that displeased God, continuing to mess around with relationships, taking drugs, and running casinos. Thank God he never gave up on me. Less than a year after believing in Jesus, Hong's businesses plummeted. 7 companies went bankrupt one after another, leading him to declare bankruptcy and even consider ending his life. In his despair, Hong thought that if he left Jesus and returned to his old ways, he would once again have fame, wealth, and women in abundance. Even his followers urged him to sever ties with Jesus to avoid financial ruin. I really wanted to leave Jesus myself because every time I went to church, something bad would happen. I also had the wrong idea that as the boss with a sense of brotherhood, I couldn't abandon my Triad team of about 3,000 people who made a living with me, nor the 1,000 people the casino supported. Besides, I had 4 wives and over 10 steady girlfriends, all living in luxury, wearing designer brands, and spending huge amounts of money. I couldn't just leave them behind. For everyone's sake, I had to leave him to avoid further disaster. Hong continued to negotiate with Jesus, deciding he'd rather go to hell than give up what he had, even claiming he didn't need Jesus to love him. Finally surrendering, man can't fight God. When Hong made up his mind to leave Jesus for good, something amazing happened. That day I heard Jesus speak to me, telling me to take a chair and sit under the cross in my living room. As soon as I closed my eyes, he lifted me up to heaven, showing me the beauty of paradise and the horrors of hell. He told me that the eternal world was my true goal. I was so moved that I made a covenant with Jesus to dedicate my whole life to him and serve him forever. This miraculous experience happened 7 years ago. Since deciding to follow Jesus, Hong's life has been filled with strict discipline, making the fall from the top to rock bottom very hard. However, God showed me that he loved me, which is why he needed to intensify his teachings, ensuring I left all my wicked ways behind. Many people asked me why I still believed in Jesus despite everything. Either I'm crazy, or this God is the real deal, and there's no faking it. Hong laughed, saying he's definitely not crazy and chooses to follow Jesus because he is the living true God. This once super strong tough guy finally admitted, "I lost." He is God, and I am human. I can't fight him. Now Hong is a new person, transformed so much that even he is amazed. God has a sense of humor. He knows my weak points and deals with them one by one. In the past 7 years, he has made me study theology, something I used to hate. Last year, I finished a distance learning course at the Baptist Theological Seminary. Before, I was surrounded by beautiful women every day, and now I must remain celibate. I used to have countless people around me, eating, drinking, and having fun. Now, I am alone. I used to spend money like water. Now I live by faith, waiting for God to provide. Despite all this, Hong repeatedly says he has no regrets because the joy and peace he feels now are things he never experienced in his entire life. He firmly believes that his goal is eternal life in heaven, so he no longer values the present world or minds the temporary suffering. Losing everything to gain Christ. When talking about his ministry direction, Hong admits, "It's all about spreading the gospel. Sharing my testimony is my primary work. I share it hundreds of times a year, and 6,000 or 7,000 people accept Jesus on the spot. Through the internet, at least 20,000 people, including some of my former followers, have come to believe in Jesus. In recent years, I've opened over 120 Hong Kong Victory Wellness Centers in Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan. All the staff, from top to bottom, are saved Christians with visions and missions. We use a green, drug-free method to treat people's illnesses while sharing the gospel to solve the problem of eternal life. Among those healed, 6,000 or 7,000 people commit to Christ every year. We also offer free medical treatment to pastors and church leaders. In my plans, I hope to establish Victory churches worldwide, specifically tailored for former Triad members. Currently, I'm working with Pastor Liu Mini from Taiwan's Morning Star organization, focusing on prison and drug rehab ministries. We've helped over 100 former Triad members released from prison, providing them with a year of free accommodation and living expenses to help them, like me, find new life in God. My thoughts and life were completely twisted before, using my so-called wisdom to do bad things. Now, I pray for God to guide me to do truly good deeds. I feel Jesus' presence all the time, giving me joy from within, which is completely different from the sinful pleasures I used to chase. Hong is happy to donate all the money he earns, giving 100% to God's work because he has experienced the blessing of losing everything to gain Christ.